This is a case study about Jane and nutrition best practice. Jane is a 14-year-old who has obesity, hyperglycemia, and is at risk for metabolic syndrome. Her family, mother and father, both are obese. Her father has diabetes, and her mother and father both have hypertension. Jane has come to the nutrition professional with her mom and her dad to seek help for her health conditions. Nutrition best practice for Jane's case will be as follows. Her assessment includes obesity, hyperglycemia, and risk for metabolic syndrome. Her health conditions overall are generally benign. Otherwise, her total cholesterol number, although within normal range, is flip-flopped, where her LDL is elevated and her HDL is lower than we would like to see. Implications for Jane in these out-of-range labs can be acute and chronic consequentially. Obesity can lead to chronic disease, as mentioned, metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular complications, hypertension, kidney disease. It increases her risk for stroke and cancer. There are implications of socioeconomic risk, and her hyperglycemia is a precursor to diabetes type 2. Jane is essentially pre-diabetic. We would want to see more labs for her for further evaluation, including an A1C. Jane's overall health and wellness starts young and continues through the lifespan. The nutritional implications can be impactful. If we intervene and direct Jane to a more nutritional path of wellness, these processes she's experiencing at her young age of 14 can be reversed. Without interventions, they will continue to progress, possibly into full-blown disease. Nutritional balance and choices are overall the education that Jane and her family would initially need. It would be wise to go over healthy foods, to include fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, lean meats, low-fat, dairy, and non-dairy options. It would be wise to teach Jane and her family of best, better, and unfavorable choices and practice. For example, a best choice would be a multigrain bread. A better choice would be a white wheat bread, but an unfavorable choice would be just white bread. There are many healthy eating examples on this page. That said, we do take into consideration Jane's father's concerns of finances. And it is understood in this case study and mentioned that they do struggle at the end of the month to come up with enough money for food. Therefore, they turn to quick, inexpensive options, for example, the dollar menu at McDonald's. We will visit this topic later, but the nutrition professional can recommend local, state, and federal programs to help support families like Jane's, and to help additionally with nutrition vouchers to make ends meet, therefore help them make better choices in their meals. Recommendations and goals for Jane would be to put her close to 2,000 calories per day. Currently, as entered on Cronometer tool, Jane is consuming approximately 2,900 calories a day. It is not clear if she has any physical activity, but in her case study, it is assumed she does not. I would add a minimum of 30 minutes of activity per day for Jane, and again, support nutritional education, monitoring, and follow-ups. I would teach Jane about myplate.gov and all the resources that they have, and Cronometer. Jane's BMI is currently 28.1%. Her weight for age lists Jane in the 90th percentile. The goal intake of approximately 1,900 to 2,000 calories a day would help Jane lose approximately 2 pounds a week. Adding at least 30 minutes of exercise and increasing her water intake daily would be essential. To help Jane, she would need to be taught how to track with a program like Cronometer. I would help her set up an account, get her anthropometrics, and her meal intake and tracking plan. Again, Jane, in her 3-day diary results are currently, her intake is somewhere around 2,900 calories a day. This is 1,100 calories on average in excess of her baseline intake needs. She needs closer to 1,700 to 1,900 calories a day, and this would depend on her activity level. Jane shows to be in excess for energy, carbohydrates, and fats each day. These would need to be modified to closer to a recommended daily allowance. She is also in excess of protein. She is in excess of sodium intake, as on average it is somewhere between 200% up to 400% more than she needs daily. This can be a precursor alone for hypertension, kidney distress, and other metabolic syndromes. Jane looks to be low on B vitamins overall, as well as fat-soluble D, E, and K. She's lacking in calcium, magnesium, zinc, and is low on fiber. Lacking in these vitamins and minerals will impact Jane both short and long term. Lack of calcium and vitamin D as they work together can be precursors even at Jane's age of 14 for osteopenia and osteoporosis. It would be important to educate Jane about how to absorb vitamin D if she were to exercise outside in the sun. She would be able to have exposure to vitamin D. It would be recommended that she go outside at least 10 or 15 minutes each day without sunscreen and then apply it thereafter. Other side effects Jane may be experiencing due to lack of vitamins and minerals that are important with her metabolic process include fatigue, brain fog, trouble concentrating, trouble sleeping, a tendency to get sick more often, and she can even have bowel and elimination issues. Moving forward, I would create a meal plan for Jane, comparing and contrasting where we started with her intake and where she might try to be. It would be important to speak with Jane about her likes and dislikes in food and to try to stay close to the textures and flavors that she's used to, at least initially, so she does not get discouraged or turned off by more healthy eating. Day 1 would be a breakfast similar to what she had, meaning a breakfast sandwich, but the choice would be different with egg whites versus fried eggs, coffee with stevia versus sugar, and a lower fat type of creamer or a non-dairy creamer. She could have blueberries and yogurt topped with multigrain Cheerios. For lunch, she could have pizza slices The best choice would be like a margarita pizza with a thinner crust. She could have an orange. Apples with peanut butter for a snack would be a great choice. And instead of fried, grilled chicken breast, maybe in lieu of bread, we could discuss wrapping her sandwich in larger pieces of lettuce. Instead of mayonnaise, maybe tomato and avocado. She could have a baked sweet potato instead of fries. And she could have a banana for a snack. Day 2 would be similar, trying to stay with Jane's preference for cereal. She could have multigrain Cheerios with a banana and lower fat milk. She could have some fortified orange juice and still with her coffee, stevia, and a lower fat creamer. Again, for lunch, chicken breast would be a good choice, but grilled instead of fried, and maybe with lettuce. Her canned pineapple was a good choice. And for snack, instead of chips or crackers, she could have some Skinny Pop popcorn or a lower fat choice there with the same texture. Baked chicken breast would be a good dinner option. Sweet potato again, and peanuts with apples instead of peanut butter. It might satisfy the crunchy, salty needs. As well as day 3, we have egg whites instead of fried eggs and turkey bacon instead of regular bacon. She can have her orange juice. Lunch could be a turkey breast open-faced sandwich, maybe with 1 slice of bread, again with avocado and tomato versus mayonnaise. For a snack, she could have some whole wheat or multigrain crackers. Lower sodium would be ideal, and maybe introducing Jane if she doesn't have a taste for hummus. That would satisfy the need for dip versus a higher calorie option like ranch or a higher fat option. And again, for dinner, there's a margarita pizza with a salad. Balsamic vinegar is a good choice, maybe even in lieu of oil. And a low-fat ice cream for snack at night would satisfy a sweet tooth. Wellness is a lifelong journey and not a destination. Circling back to some assistance and support for Jane and her family, her environment also appears to have some family stressors, which can contribute to inflammatory markers and cortisol. It can have a negative impact on health. Jane's father, does not always have adequate work or income for the family, which he makes clear, and he also made clear in the case study he would be willing to look at options if they were given to him for help with resources. I would recommend assistance for Jane and her family. The nonprofit federal, state, and local programs I would initially recommend would be the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, which provides vouchers based on income and is a program that helps supplement families in nutritional support. Also, the school nutrition program would be great for Jane to look into. It is funded by the Food and Nutrition Service, U.S. Department of Agriculture. They have a breakfast and lunch program for students. If her family has not already applied and is not participating, this can go on income, and it could be that Jane might even eat breakfast and lunch at school for free, which would mitigate some cost at home. A local food pantry could be looked into and could also assist them as well. The nutrition professional should provide education and information as offered and requested. The nutrition professional should have many local resources which might assist in closing the gap at the end of the month for clients, like Jane's family. This overall support might enable them to make better food choices and ingredient choices while shopping and in their preparation of meals. Jane would need regular follow-ups and monitoring, and by having a Cronometer account, it would be easy for the nutrition professional working with Jane to view her progress, to be able to celebrate her milestones, and to redirect some struggles in the initial stage of her nutritional journey as such.